Alright, let's start the voiceover with this one. So, first new game with Grand Arms Silhouette. As you guys can see from the previous episode of Two Locals, I am a huge fan of Silhouette, especially Quilly Sensei's artwork. And Silhouette has always been one of my favorite decks aesthetic wise. So, I am kind of always a sucker for anything like space related, right? So when we literally have a spaceman right line, I was telling myself, yep, absolutely. We're gonna get this one. So I go first and we're gonna go up to the great one. Silhouette getting us the Machineries Factory. So we're gonna top 7 and unfortunately miss. So with the new build of Silhouette, right, you don't necessarily have to play as many different type of arms as before. You only really compress down to the two new arms, which is a strong left and a strong right. So I got my buddy Lewis to try out his Vaga against this deck because we're gonna see the two matchups in today's game, right, where they really excel in retiring the front row. So one misplay that we did not realize while we were filming this video is the extra shield value from the strong left and right actually only comes from intercepting, not from guarding. And we thought that, so long you're at grade 3 silhouette, you're gonna be a 10k shield regardless of where you were at. So that's why fundamentally the build for this deck is incorrect. So we're just gonna change the directory of this video. We're gonna really see how the new arms help with the farming, how the new grade 1 actually helps with some sort of recursion as well. So with the wolf grade 1, the deck already has some form of recursion, but with the new grade 1, we're gonna see it really excel in towards like the late game where you run out of Machineries Factory to call back 2 cards and still sort of try and get some form of like advantage regardless of what happens. So we're gonna see me going up to Grand Arm Silhouette, absolutely in love with this artwork. I can already see myself buying 4 secret rares for this, so it's gonna be hell there's gonna be hell to pay, honestly. So strong left going in for 5k shield, strong left going in for 10k shield, and Silhouette hitting for a total of if I am not mistaken, over 40k. Might be wrong, but yeah. So twin drive, nothing, and hitting with the strong left to the side because he did check a damage trigger. So here we have Lewis going up to the grade 3 Vaga Dragress. So Falha allowing him to draw one, calling out the Boulder X, doing the very typical Vaga stuff. And you're going to call Shura as well as Rokusei, which is honestly, Rokusei is such a good card in this meta. There are so many decks out there with big intercepts like Eva, Vegila, so this Rokusei card actually does lock down quite a bit of defense on the opposing side, especially for my deck where we didn't realize, but after, finished filming, we were checking the effects and like, hey, shit man, the new arms only have like extra shield value on intercept. So fundamentally the deck build is already wrong. I'm sorry for that. We will probably make another video for Silhouette when the actual card comes out. So this is really just some proxy testing to figure out and get a feel of how the new deck actually feels like. Even though fundamentally Grand Arm Silhouette is the same card, we just gonna tune according to whatever the armed arms will get us. So what we're really looking at instead of the new Silhouette form, we're actually just really looking at what the new arms can do. So the only difference for the new Silhouette is the extra line of text above everything where it says if you do Soul Blast a Machineries Factory, you can plus 5k to all your armed arms. So as you can see here, the reason why specifically Machine Factory is you're supposed to use it this way. You're gonna put the Machine Factory from the Order Zone into the Soul to call back 2 cards. So here we have Winston. Of course, my opponent is already at grade 3. We're going to see Winston allowing the Silhouette deck to do a 5th attack with an Energy Blast of 3. So here we have the armed arms going in, and Silhouette with the Persona right hitting for about 80 something k, 88k if I'm not mistaken, and Winston giving a 8k boost. So here we are just counting the powers. So 10k on its own for strong left, 5k from Winston, 5k from the Vanguard effect, that is a 30k rear guard, and the strong right will be 35. So twin drive front trigger, that is a huge front trigger. Fun fact, if you do check a front trigger with Silhouette, you're gonna get a 30k boost to the front row because it is still 3 units, so your front trigger basically becomes 30k. So I probably will change the deck build after this video, so I wouldn't really suggest following the current deck build. I am thinking of something interesting already at the point of doing this voiceover because we did film this pretty late last night. So we're gonna see him going up to the Vaga Rakshasa. So triggering the Persona right, drawing a card, calling a bull, a Storm Slasher, a Rokusei, and another bull. So Lewis is gonna try something very interesting. He was actually having a discussion with me like, oh, should I call another bull for more power? Because Rokusei is a on-play, opponent cannot intercept, so it is a static effect that has already happened on the point of Rokusei being on the board. It doesn't have to be on the board for the entire time, so he does actually call over the Rokusei. Personally, I do think that it is a misplay, but he did wanted to try something funny, so it's just a casual game, over at my place. So nothing much at stake here. So here we have Shura doing the Shura things and Solar Cycler as well as another Rokusei. So quite unfortunate on this end. There are no triggers. So we're going to see Storm Slasher doing its usual thing. Vaga retiring the back row and restanding for, I believe, the Divine Skill, maybe, if I'm not wrong. So this is just me figuring out how the optimal guards right here. And this is what I meant, right? Like, we honestly thought that, hey, the armed arms are gonna be like extra shield value even from the graveyard or even from the hand, but no, it is only in the intercept. So once again, I do apologize for the big misplay that we did pretty much the entire video, like this match and the next match after. So here we have the new grade 1 as well, not really showing the full value or full extent of this card. So armed arms allowing me to top 3, adding 1 into the hand, to the soul, and 1 to the bottom of the deck. And now we have the very big attack coming in right here. So Lewis was actually contemplating how to guard this optimally, but his hand, it is looking a little bit thin, so he does have another perfect guard. So here we have another armed arms going in for the 1 trigger. So I do not have Winston, so I do not get a 5th attack, but here we have an attack that is coming in for like, I think 40k guard. Just when I thought I had it, he had a blue OT to guard the last attack, so props to him. But his formation is looking a little bit weak and thin, and thankfully I did check a heal trigger. So here you see him calling the Rokusei, which prevents my intercepts further, and retiring my front row again. So that is another 20k loss, which is absolutely devastating. Like, the shield value does add up, guys. The shield value does add up. So stand and draw, nothing much, no Persona right. So I told him I had no arms, so I was basically crippled at this point. But the new grade 1 allows me to counterblast 1 to call back an armed arms right here. So we're gonna see me calling a PG out, which is similar to him calling the critical trigger out to attack. And oh, I forgot to soul blast the machinery's factory. So we just have 1 arm going in for the kill and crit to the side, front trigger, and we have the last attack, and that was game. Whew. Alright, game 2. So we are up against Bavsagra this time. So again, the 2 matchups that I got Lewis to bring specifically was to really showcase how Silhouette can still navigate through, like, retiring the front row, because most of Silhouette's shield value, or rather value, like in general, the value from Silhouette comes from always abusing the arms to intercept and to attack, because the Machinery's Factory is one of the best cards in Brandgate when it comes to recursion. Unfortunately, it's just in an archetype that isn't necessarily the best, but one of the coolest. So it nets us like 2 cards every damn time we use the effect, which is pretty cool. And there are like recursions that we can do to get back the Machinery's Factory, as well as a consistent way to soul blast out the Machine's Factory in the form of the Vanguard's effect to give 5k to every armed arms, which is pretty cool. And I did go first, so Lewis getting his Arx Verina to do his typical farming, and the new Basagra is so cool, man. Like, I have no idea how our Arx Verina has, like, or Ares Verina has such a cool synergy with one of the best decks in the meta right now. So going up to the grade 2 Silhouette, nothing much, just a grade 2 punch, and he got it with 15k. So dropping the Fire Regulus, going up to the grade 2 Bavsagra, the right line, and he does check a PG, which is always not good to see when you are the Silhouette player. So dropping another crit, I was thinking to myself at this point, I remember very clearly, like, oh my god, this is a lot of crits to be having in my hand early game. So we're gonna go up to the grade 3 Grand Arm Silhouette, calling back the strong left, strong right, and cutting deck, we are going in for the punch. So there are no counter blasts for us to farm, which is a problem for Silhouette actually, but keeping at 0 damage against Bavsagra is not necessarily a bad thing as well. So crit power and a blank. So 3 damage off the bat right there. As you can see, strong right's effect. If you have strong left attached to your Vanguard, regardless of the grade, you do get a additional critical trigger. So he is going up to the grade 3 Basagra, counterblasting 1 for the right line effect to fish out whatever arms he has left in his deck. I believe he only has 1 at this point. Yep, there we go, because the shield is in the damage zone, and we're just gonna let him continue doing his thing. He's gonna equip the shield for an additional 1 draw, and he's gonna call not just 1, but probably 2 Yume Mashat. Yep, there we go, 2 Yume Mashat, drawing him 4 new cards to look, and for cheap cost of energy blasting 6. So this is one good thing about Vaga going second, right? Like, you have an additional surplus of energy to really keep using the Yume Masha. If your opponent does decide to aggro you down, you can deliver a huge crackback on your first grade 3 turn without having the need to Persona Ride at all. So we're gonna see him call the Shenri clone behind the Yume Masha on the left or the right. I'm not really sure which direction I'm looking at, but we're going to see him Soul Blasting 2 and retiring my front row. Again, that is a devastating loss for any deck that really wants to capitalize on the intercepting from their grade 2 units. So we're going to see him putting the Ares Very Knight to the soul to equip the sword, giving the front row additional 5k. So this is where he starts his crackback. So calling back the Cindy and the Trickstar Swendy. So I did inform him that, hey, you can, swap the Trickstar and Swendy with the Cindy to get a nicer number, because the Yume Mashat does hit for magic number if you do boost with the Cindy because of the 8k, additional 3k. And here we have him going in with the Basagra. I said no guard, front trigger, crit trigger, absolutely devastating blow. So I think he did check an Elementaria as well, but I did check like 2 damage triggers. So that leaves his Yume Mashat to be slightly easier to guard. And initially he did consider to restand both the Yume Mashat, but after some discussion he was doing some calculation, and this is where I dropped a 15k for the side that he only chose to restand 1. So Persona Ride going up to another Grand Arms, order misses again. So the order missing is actually very common. In fact, I would say that the new direction for the Silhouette now is to really just use the Machine's Factory as a way to get back 2 arms every turn and to Soul Blast it out with the Vanguard's effect. So we're going to see me dropping the Winston down because he is at grade 3, giving all of my armed arms additional 5k power. So here we have the full power boost of this deck. So 1 into hand, 1 into soul, 1 to bot deck again. So counter blasting 1 to retire 1 of the Yume Mashat, and does guard easily. So swinging with the Vanguard, that's almost hitting 100k. So it is still a fundamentally PG checking deck. So first check, second check, double PG, which is always good to see. And counter blasting 1 for another farming turn. So the new Silhouette, I think the best part is your top 3, you always have choices, right? Like, what do you really want? Do you want a Persona Ride? Do you want a Perfect Guard? Or do you want cards that allow you to set up for next turn? Or just like, if you see an OT there, do you want to have an option for a 50k shield? So I believe these are some of the things that you really want to consider when you play the new Silhouette, especially with the strong left being like, again, your farming card, right? So it opens up so much more avenue for thinking when it comes to what card you actually need, what card you want to have in your hand, no pun intended, and what card might actually help you in the next turn, or what card might actually help you survive this turn. So it adds on another layer of survivability for Silhouette, which I really like. And I think Silhouette on its own, like, the attacking power is probably at its maximum when it comes to all the other Brigade decks. Probably not compared to Bat, because Aleglima is still the most offensive deck in the entirety of Vanguard. But the thing is, with Silhouette, you're hitting for numbers that always checks for perfect guards, because you do have a latent 2 crit pressure right there. So having the option to really top 3, seeing what you really need, be it cards that you need to survive the turn, or cards that allow you to set up next turn, be it like a Persona Ride, or even a Great 1 Wolf from DZBT06, right? You really want to see to it that you have the options for everything. You are in control of your own farming, instead of blindly drawing from the previous armed arms. So this is just us doing some more calculation, and I believe Lewis was like contemplating if he should call the Iris Verena just for the extra shield value, and that's when I reminded him that I have access to the strong right, which will allow me to pop any rear guard. So he just decided to hold the Trickstar and Swendy behind the Vanguard for an additional booster instead. So I told him, you know what, I'm afraid even though I did check a defensive OT, I'm just gonna PG and hope that he doesn't check an over trigger. So here we have arm arms again, Persona Ride, absolutely huge. Thanks to the farming, I was able to consistently get the Persona Ride out almost every turn. So here we go again with the Machines Factory. And yeah, I did top 7 add 1 to hand. So this will make me like forced to put the Machines Factory into Soul. So I'm using the second one to call back the strong left and strong right, using Vanguard effect to Soul Blast out the Machines Factory for additional 5k power. And we're gonna go with the side, center, side again. That's the standard attack pattern for this deck. So I do have Winston still, thank goodness. So I have access to 5 attacks. So him dropping the perfect guard here, heal trigger, no heal, power to the strong left, and the wolf right there. So EB3 calling out and Vanguard effect to detach. So we're going for the side attack now again. And hopefully he doesn't have enough to guard. I don't really remember what happens from here. When we recorded this video, it was actually pretty late last night. So I'm just really gonna turbo out the production of this video. Hopefully the lower thirds will be decent quality at the very least. So yeah, he didn't have a Persona Ride, which is quite unfortunate, but this makes it easier for me to guard. I believe my hand did still have perfect guards at this point, but the problem is I do not have a Machineries Factory set up in my graveyard, so it doesn't allow me to net back the 2 arms like I always try to loop. So with Bavsagra's Soul Blasting 2 effect, I will lose my last remaining 2 rear guards, which is quite unfortunate, but he does go for a big push this time round, so going in for the Soul Blast 2 right now with the Trick Moon behind the Yume Masha, which is painful to say the least. And he's going to use Cindy to add back the Aras Verena. So I believe he's going to just cross overdress and call it a day from here. Yep, there we go. So that graveyard is huge, man. It doesn't look like much from the top-down view, but I can tell you it was huge. So drive check, heal trigger. That is absolutely painful to see in this situation, and another heal trigger, putting him down to 3 because I was at 4. So again, Basagra, one of the strongest decks. Checking a double heal at this point is nothing short of painful. So just us doing some calculations like, oh, which one is the most optimal to guard, because they both only 1 damage. So taking 1 damage here is not necessarily a bad thing. So Trick Moon being a huge attacker, I believe this was like 40 or 50k to guard on his own. So here we have Luis just counting his Aras Verena's stack. So absolutely massive once again. And here we have me guarding. So again, I apologize for the misplay on not fully understanding the arms additional shield value. So here we have Wolf getting us a arms back with a Soul Blast 2 and self-retiring to immediately set a Machineries Factory. So top 7, not hitting anything. Entering Soul with the Machine Factory to call back strong left and strong right. So we're gonna call a Winston for an additional boost. So Soul Blasting out the Machines Factory, giving all of my arms additional 5k. So this was a swing first from the strong right to retire the Verena, because he does have a Trickstar 20 for additional shield value. So strong right going in to retire, strong left going in without the farm because I do not have enough Counter Blast. Unfortunately, this deck does use Counter Blast quite heavily to farm and to retire. So here we have Soul Blasting, attaching, and swinging the Vanguard right there. Twin Drive, crit power, and that is 3 damage right there because Luis was unable to get the last attack. So Silhouette takes the last game.